Captain Jake Morrison stood at the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the alien ships approach. 3 years had passed since first contact with the Galactic Federation. 3 long years of waiting, studying, and proving that humanity deserved a place among the stars. The lead ship was massive, easily 10 times larger than anything humans had built. Its sleek silver hull reflected Earth's blue light as it docked with the station. Jake felt his jaw tighten as he watched the airlock connect. Today, humanity would finally receive their welcome gift from the Federation. "Captain, they're ready for you," came the voice of Lieutenant Amy Chen from behind him. She was the best communications officer in the Earth Defense Force, fluent in 6 alien languages already. Jake turned and walked toward the main conference room. His boots echoed in the metal corridors of the station. Other members of his team were already waiting. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker was checking her tablet, probably reviewing technical specifications for the 100th time. Weapons Specialist Tony Rodriguez stood near the wall, his arms crossed, looking skeptical about the whole meeting. The conference room doors slid open, and Jake got his first close look at their alien visitors. Admiral Krikstal of the Zephyrian Empire stood nearly 8 feet tall, his blue-scaled skin gleaming under the station's lights. His yellow eyes looked down at the humans with what could only be described as amusement. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Krikstal said in perfect English, though his voice had a strange musical quality, "we are honored to finally welcome your species into the greater galactic community." 2 other aliens flanked him. Jake recognized them from the briefings. Commander Veltar, also a Zephyrian, and Ambassador Quinks from the Helix Confederation. All 3 looked at the humans like adults watching children play with toys. "The honor is ours, Admiral," Jake replied, keeping his voice steady. "We're eager to learn from more advanced civilizations." Admiral Krikstal's mouth curved into what might have been a smile. "Indeed. Your species shows promise, though you are still quite primitive by galactic standards. That is why the Federation Council has decided to provide you with appropriate technology." He gestured to one of his assistants, who activated a holographic display. The image showed a small spaceship, maybe 200 meters long. It looked old, with patched hull plating and outdated design features that even Jake could recognize. "This is the starship Stardust," Admiral Krikstal announced proudly. "She served the Federation faithfully for over 2 centuries. Her fusion reactors are still functional, and her plasma weapons can penetrate most asteroid materials. She will serve as an excellent training vessel for your people." Lisa Parker leaned forward, studying the hologram. "What's her maximum speed?" "0.7 standard velocity," Commander Veltar answered. "Quite adequate for system patrol duties." Tony Rodriguez frowned. "Plasma weapons? What's their effective range?" "Approximately 50,000 kilometers," Ambassador Quinks replied. "More than sufficient for dealing with space debris or small meteoroids." Jake felt his team's disappointment without needing to look at them. From the intercepted alien communications they had studied, he knew that modern Federation warships could travel at twice standard velocity and had weapons that could hit targets from millions of kilometers away. They were being given a museum piece. "The ship is currently in orbit around your moon," Admiral Krikstal continued. "We have taken the liberty of preparing instruction manuals for your engineers, though I must warn you, the technology may be quite complex for your current understanding." "We appreciate the generosity," Jake said carefully. "When can we begin examining the vessel?" "Immediately, if you wish. However, we must insist on certain guidelines." The Admiral's tone became more serious. "This technology is provided as a gift to help your species develop. Any attempt to reverse engineer or modify Federation systems would be considered a violation of galactic law." Lisa Parker's tablet made a small beeping sound as she took notes. "What kind of modifications are prohibited?" "Any modifications," Commander Veltar said firmly. "The ship is perfectly designed for your needs. Changing anything would only make it less efficient." Jake felt his anger rising but kept his expression neutral. They were treating humanity like children who couldn't be trusted with real tools. Of course, we wouldn't want to damage such advanced technology. The meeting continued for another hour. The aliens explained basic maintenance procedures, shared star charts of nearby safe systems where humans were allowed to travel, and provided a list of Federation stations where the Stardust would be welcome. Finally, Admiral Crixtal stood to leave. Captain Morrison, we look forward to seeing how your species adapts to space travel. In perhaps 50 years, you may be ready for more advanced vessels. After the aliens departed, Jake's team gathered in a smaller briefing room. The mood was tense. 50 years, Tony muttered. They think we're idiots. Did you see the specifications on that ship? Lisa asked, scrolling through her notes. The fusion reactor is barely putting out enough power to run life support and basic propulsion at the same time. Amy Chen looked up from her own tablet. I recorded their entire conversation. The translator picked up some interesting things. When they thought we couldn't understand, Admiral Crixtal called us amusing primitives in his own language. Jake walked to the window and looked out at Earth, hanging blue and beautiful in space. His planet had survived wars, plagues, and disasters. Humans had split the atom, walked on the moon, and built space stations. Now aliens were patting them on the head and giving them broken toys. They want to keep us contained, he said quietly. Give us just enough technology to make us grateful, but not enough to be a threat. So what do we do? Tony asked. Jake turned back to his team. These were some of the brightest minds humanity had produced. Lisa had designed the engines for Earth's fastest ships. Tony had developed new armor systems that could stop meteoroid impacts. Amy could break alien encryption codes that were supposed to be impossible. We take their gift, Jake said with a slight smile, and we show them what humans can do with junk. Lisa grinned. You want us to modify the ship? I want you to completely rebuild it. Strip out every component, study it, improve it, and put it back together. Make it into something they never imagined. That could take months, Amy warned. Then we'd better get started, Jake replied. Tony, I want you to analyze every weapon system. Lisa, tear apart that reactor and see if we can make it actually work. Amy, I need you to crack their computer systems and find out what they're not telling us. As his team began making plans, Jake looked back toward Earth. The aliens thought they were giving humanity a harmless toy. They had no idea they had just handed the most adaptable species in the galaxy their first real starship. The Stardust was about to become something the galaxy had never seen before. 6 months later, the Stardust floated in the massive Titan shipyards, looking nothing like the vessel the aliens had delivered. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker stood on the observation platform, watching her team work through the ship's open hull sections. Sparks flew as welders sealed new armor plating, and the constant hum of machinery filled the air. Status report, Captain Jake Morrison said as he joined her on the platform. Lisa smiled, wiping grease from her hands with a cloth. We're ahead of schedule. The old fusion reactor came out 3 weeks ago. Dr. Kevin Blake's antimatter engine went in yesterday. Jake raised an eyebrow. How's it testing? Power output is incredible, Lisa replied, pulling up a holographic display of the ship's new systems. The alien's reactor could barely run the ship's basic functions. Blake's design generates enough energy to power a small city. They walked along the platform observing the work below. The Stardust's interior had been completely gutted and redesigned. Where the aliens had built wide corridors suitable for their large frames, humans had created efficient spaces that maximized functionality. The energy distribution was the biggest challenge, Lisa continued. Alien systems are designed for steady, predictable power flow. Human technology works in bursts. We had to create entirely new power conduits using superconducting materials. Jake nodded, watching a team of engineers install new computer cores. What about Tony's weapon systems? You'll want to see this yourself, Lisa said, leading him toward the ship's main armory. They found Tony Rodriguez in the weapons bay, standing next to something that definitely wasn't alien technology. The new weapon system looked like a massive rifle nearly 30 feet long with electromagnetic coils running its entire length. Railgun? Jake asked. Tony grinned. Railgun array. We've got 6 of them mounted along the ship's spine. Each one can fire tungsten slugs at 90% of light speed. The aliens use plasma weapons, Jake observed. Plasma is flashy, but it's slow and loses energy over distance, Tony explained, patting the railgun's housing. These slugs hit with pure kinetic energy. At the speeds we're talking about, they'll punch through anything. Sarah Wells, the team's metallurgist, looked up from a nearby workbench where she was examining metal samples. We analyzed the alien armor plating from their specifications. Our rounds will go through their strongest shields like they're made of paper. Jake walked around the weapon, impressed by its design. Rate of fire? 1 round every 3 seconds, Tony replied. But at these velocities, you only need 1 shot. They moved to the ship's new bridge where Amy Chen was working on the communication and sensor systems. Multiple holographic displays surrounded her workstation, showing star charts, signal analysis, and what looked like alien text scrolling rapidly across screens. Any luck breaking their encryption? Jake asked. Amy looked up, her eyes bright with excitement. Better than that. I found something they didn't know they gave us. She activated a new display showing a detailed scan of the ship's hull. The original Stardust hull contains trace amounts of quantum-resonant metals. The aliens used them in tiny quantities for basic sensors they never realized what they had, which is the foundation for a cloaking system, Amy replied. I've been working with Dr. Blake's team at MIT. We can create a field that doesn't just hide us visually, but makes us nearly invisible to most sensor types. Lisa frowned. That should be impossible with current technology. Current alien technology, Amy corrected. Humans approach problems differently. Instead of trying to bend light around the ship, we're making the ship exist in a slightly different quantum state. To their sensors will appear to be background radiation. Jake felt a thrill of excitement. How long until it's ready? 2 weeks for basic functionality. Maybe a month for full implementation. They spent the next hour touring the rest of the ship. The medical bay had been upgraded with human biotechnology that could heal wounds the aliens considered permanent. The navigation system combined alien star charts with human mathematical modeling to calculate jump routes that were supposedly impossible. In the ship's new laboratory, Dr. Kevin Blake was examining alien computer components under a microscope. The physicist looked up as they entered. Captain, you need to see this, Blake said, gesturing to his screen. The alien computer systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly inefficient. They use massive amounts of processing power to perform simple calculations. Why? Jake asked. Because they're designed by committee, Blake explained. Every alien species in the Federation had input on the design. The result is something that works for everyone but isn't optimized for anyone. Sarah Wells joined the conversation. We found the same thing with their hull materials, strong enough for their needs, but not nearly as efficient as what we can produce. Jake looked around, at his team, all of them dirty and tired from months of intense work, but all of them excited about what they were creating. How much longer? The major systems are installed, Lisa replied. We need another 2 weeks for testing and integration. Then we can take her out for trials. What about the aliens? Amy asked. They've been monitoring our energy signatures. They know something unusual is happening. Jake had been wondering about that himself. Federation sensor stations throughout the solar system had been detecting unusual readings from the Titan shipyards. Several alien ships had requested permission to investigate, but Earth's government had politely declined. Let them wonder, Jake said. By the time they figure out what we've done, it'll be too late to stop us. 2 weeks later, Jake stood on the bridge of what was no longer the Stardust. His crew had voted to rename her the Iron Phoenix, and the name felt appropriate. What had once been dead alien technology had been reborn as something entirely new. All systems green, Lisa reported from the engineering station. Weapons ready, Tony confirmed. Cloaking system standing by, Amy added. Navigation plotted for the asteroid belt, said Pete Collins, their new navigation officer. Jake settled into the captain's chair, which had been redesigned for human proportions. Around him, the bridge hummed with quiet efficiency. Every system had been rebuilt from the ground up, incorporating the best of both human and alien technology. Take us out, Jake commanded. The Iron Phoenix moved away from Titan shipyards with a grace that the original Stardust had never possessed. The new engines responded instantly to commands, and the ship accelerated smoothly toward their test destination. They passed Saturn's rings. Amy picked up a transmission from a Federation monitoring station. "Captain, they're trying to scan us." "Let them," Jake replied. "What do they see?" Amy consulted her instruments. Energy signature consistent with a modified human vessel. Nothing that would concern them. Jake smiled. The Federation was still thinking in terms of their own technology. They couldn't imagine that humans had created something entirely different. The real test would come soon enough. For now, Jake was content to watch the stars ahead, knowing that humanity had just taken its first real step toward becoming a galactic power. The aliens had given them junk. Humans had turned it into a weapon that would change everything. The Iron Phoenix cruised through the asteroid belt at speeds that should have been impossible for a ship its size. Captain Jake Morrison watched the navigation display as Pete Collins guided them between floating rocks with precision that amazed even the crew. "Sensors are incredible," Pete reported, his voice filled with wonder. "I can see objects the size of basketballs from 50,000 kilometers away. The old Stardust could barely detect asteroids until we were right on top of them." Jake nodded, studying the tactical display. "How far can we scan for other ships?" "Maximum range is still being tested," Amy Chen replied from her communication station. "But we've already detected 3 times farther than Federation standard. If there's anything bigger than a shuttle within 5 million kilometers, we'll know about it." The bridge was quiet except for the soft hum of perfectly tuned systems. Jake still couldn't believe how smoothly everything worked. The human engineers had taken alien technology apart and put it back together with a level of integration that the original designers had never achieved. "Captain, we're approaching the weapons test zone," Lisa Parker announced from engineering. Through the main view screen, Jake could see the target area his team had prepared. Dozens of old satellites and space debris had been arranged at various distances, some stationary, others moving in complex patterns. "Tony, show us what your railguns can do," Jake commanded. Tony Rodriguez grinned as he activated the weapons console. "First target is a decommissioned communication satellite at 200,000 kilometers, moving at standard orbital velocity." The ship's targeting system locked onto the distant object almost instantly. Jake watched the tactical display, track the satellite's movement, and calculate an intercept course. "Firing," Tony announced. There was no sound, no flash of light, nothing to indicate that the weapon had discharged. On the display, a tiny indicator showed the tungsten slug racing toward its target at incredible speed. 3 seconds later, the satellite simply vanished. "Direct hit," Pete confirmed, studying his sensors. The target was completely vaporized on impact. Tony selected another target, this one a larger piece of debris at 400,000 kilometers. Again, the railgun fired silently. Again, the target disappeared in an instant. "Incredible," Lisa breathed. "The kinetic energy transfer is perfect. There's almost no waste heat, no electromagnetic signature to track." Jake was about to order another test when Amy's console chirped with an incoming transmission. "Captain, we have company," she reported, her voice tense. 3 Federation ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're hailing us." The main view screen shifted to show 3 sleek alien vessels approaching rapidly. Jake recognized the design as Zephyrian cruisers, each one easily 3 times the size of the Iron Phoenix. "Put them through," Jake ordered. The screen flickered, and Captain Veltar appeared. The same Zephyrian officer who had been present when the aliens delivered the original Stardust. His yellow eyes were wide with confusion. "Human vessel, you are operating an unauthorized spacecraft in neutral space," Veltar announced. "Identify yourself immediately." "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Iron Phoenix," Jake replied calmly. "We're conducting routine training exercises in an approved test zone." Veltar's expression shifted to puzzlement. "Iron Phoenix? Our records show no such vessel in the human fleet. You appear to be operating the training frigate Stardust, but your energy signature is impossible." Jake exchanged glances with his crew. The aliens' sensors were detecting their ship, but they couldn't understand what they were seeing. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding," Jake said smoothly. This is indeed the vessel you provided to Earth. We've simply been learning to operate it more efficiently. Impossible, Veltar repeated. No species has ever achieved such power output from a standard Federation frigate. You will submit to immediate inspection. Jake felt his jaw tighten. The aliens were still treating humanity like children who needed supervision. Captain Veltar, we're in international space conducting lawful activities. We decline your inspection. The 3 alien ships moved closer, taking positions around the Iron Phoenix. Jake could see weapon ports opening on their hulls. You will comply, Veltar transmitted, or we will disable your vessel and conduct the inspection by force. Jake looked at Amy. Activate the cloaking system. Amy's fingers flew over her console. Cloak engaged. On the view screen, Jake watched. Veltar's expression changed from anger to shock as his sensors lost track of the Iron Phoenix entirely. Impossible, Veltar whispered. Where did they go? The 3 alien ships began moving in search patterns, their sensors sweeping space frantically. Jake could see them on his tactical display, but he knew they couldn't see him. Take us around behind them, Jake ordered quietly. Pete maneuvered the Iron Phoenix in a wide circle, staying well out of sensor range. The alien ships continued their frantic search, firing sensor pulses in all directions. They're completely blind, Amy reported with satisfaction. Their sensors show empty space where we used to be. Jake watched the alien ships for several minutes, studying their movements and tactics. It was clear they had no idea how to handle a target they couldn't see. Bring us to within 50,000 kilometers of the lead ship, Jake commanded. Then, to cloak. The Iron Phoenix moved silently through space until it was practically on top of Veltar's cruiser. When Amy deactivated the cloaking system, the human ship appeared directly behind the alien vessel. Veltar's shocked face reappeared on the view screen. How is this possible? Our sensors detected no movement, no energy signature, no hyperspace. Jump. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Jake replied with a slight smile. Captain Veltar, I believe you were concerned about unauthorized modifications to our vessel. The alien captain stared at the tactical display, watching the Iron Phoenix maintain perfect position behind his much larger ship. This technology should not exist. No Federation species has developed practical cloaking systems. The Federation species are thinking too much like the Federation, Jake observed. Humans approach problems differently. Veltar's 2 escort ships moved to flank the Iron Phoenix, but Jake wasn't concerned. Their weapons were plasma-based, slow and predictable. Tony's railguns could destroy all 3 ships before they could even target the human vessel. Captain Morrison, Veltar said slowly, your species was given basic technology suitable for system defense. What you have demonstrated today exceeds the capabilities of our most advanced warships. We're fast learners, Jake replied. This cannot be allowed, Veltar transmitted, his voice hardening. No developing species can be permitted to possess such technology. You will surrender your vessel immediately. Jake felt his anger rising. The aliens had given humanity junk and expected them to be grateful. Now they were angry that humans had made something useful out of it. Captain Veltar, the Iron Phoenix was built using the technology you provided combined with human engineering. We have violated no laws and broken no agreements. You have exceeded acceptable parameters, Veltar insisted. The Federation Council will not permit this development to continue. Jake stood up from his captain's chair, facing the view screen directly. Captain Veltar, I suggest you inform the Federation Council that humanity is no longer interested in staying within acceptable parameters. He gestured to Amy, who cut the transmission. The 3 alien ships remained in formation around the Iron Phoenix, but Jake could see their confusion in their movements. Captain, Lisa called from engineering. I'm detecting massive energy buildups. From their weapon systems, they're preparing to fire. Jake looked at Tony, who was already tracking all 3 targets. Can you disable them without destroying them? Tony studied his console. Their shield generators are poorly protected. I can take out their defensive systems without causing significant casualties. Do it. 3 tungsten slugs launched simultaneously from the Iron Phoenix's railgun arrays. They struck the alien ship's shield generators with surgical precision, causing brilliant explosions that left all three vessels dead in space. "This is Captain Morrison to all Federation vessels." Jake transmitted on an open channel. "Your ships are disabled but intact. We have no desire for unnecessary conflict. Please inform your superiors that humanity is ready to renegotiate our relationship." As the Iron Phoenix moved away from the drifting alien ships, Jake felt a sense of satisfaction. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were not the primitive species they had assumed. The real conversation was just beginning. News of the Iron Phoenix's encounter with the Zephyrian patrol spread through Federation space like wildfire. In the 3 weeks following the incident, Captain Jake Morrison had received communications from 17 different alien species, all demanding explanations for humanity's impossible technology. Jake stood in the briefing room aboard Luna Station, reviewing intelligence reports with his senior staff. The political situation was deteriorating rapidly. "The Federation Council has called an emergency session," Amy Chen reported, reading from her tablet. "Admiral Krixtal is demanding that Earth surrender the Iron Phoenix for immediate inspection and dismantling." "Let them demand," Jake replied grimly. "What's the military situation?" Tony Rodriguez activated a holographic star map showing ship movements throughout the sector. 3 more Federation fleets have moved to positions near human space. Nothing overtly hostile yet, but they're clearly positioning for a blockade. Chief Engineer Lisa Parker looked up from her own reports. "The good news is that construction on the second ship is ahead of schedule. The Iron Eagle should be ready for trials within the month." Jake nodded. Earth's shipyards had been working around the clock to build more vessels using the innovations pioneered on the Iron Phoenix. But one ship, even 2, wouldn't be enough if the Federation decided to use force. "Captain," Amy interrupted, her face pale as she read an incoming transmission. "We have a bigger problem. Long-range sensors are detecting Vorn Empire ships entering Federation space." The room fell silent. The Vorn Empire was the Federation's oldest enemy, a militaristic alliance that had been at war with the galactic community for over a century. If they were moving ships across the border, it meant they saw an opportunity. "How many ships?" Jake asked. "At least 12, maybe more," Amy replied, "and they're heading directly for human space." Jake felt his stomach drop. The Vorn had obviously heard about the Iron Phoenix and wanted to capture its technology for themselves. Unlike the Federation, the Vorn Empire wouldn't hesitate to destroy Earth if it meant gaining a military advantage. "Where's the nearest Federation fleet?" Tony asked. Amy checked her display. "Admiral Krixtal's ships are 2 days away. The Vorn will reach Earth space in 18 hours. Jake made his decision instantly. "Get me a direct channel to Admiral Krixtal and prepare the Iron Phoenix for immediate departure." Within an hour, Jake was back aboard his ship, racing toward the outer edge of human space. The Iron Phoenix moved faster than any Federation vessel could match, but Jake wasn't sure speed would be enough. "Contact with Vorn Battle Group, Pete," Collins reported from navigation. 3 destroyers, each one over a kilometer long. They're moving in formation toward Earth." Jake studied the tactical display. Vorn destroyers were massive, heavily armored warships designed for planetary assault. Each one carried enough firepower to devastate a world. "Amy, any response from Admiral Krixtal?" "He acknowledges our transmission but refuses to provide assistance," Amy replied angrily. "He says the Federation will not intervene in conflicts involving unauthorized human technology." Jake felt a surge of anger. The Federation was willing to let Earth be destroyed rather than admit they had underestimated humanity. "Captain," Lisa called from engineering, "I'm detecting massive energy signatures from the Vorn ships. Their weapons are charging." "Take us to intercept course," Jake ordered. "Full speed." The Iron Phoenix accelerated toward the approaching enemy fleet. On the view screen, the 3 Vorn destroyers grew larger, their dark hulls bristling with weapon ports and armor plating. "They're hailing us," Amy reported. "Put them through." The view screen flickered, showing the bridge of the lead Vorn destroyer. Commander Jacques, a reptilian humanoid with scarred gray skin, stared at Jake with obvious contempt. "Human ship, you will surrender immediately," Jacques commanded in heavily accented standard. Your vessel and its technology now belong to the Vorn Empire. I'm afraid I'll have to decline that generous offer, Jake replied calmly. Jacques' eyes narrowed. You pilot one small ship against 3 destroyers. Your death will be quick but meaningless. We'll see about that, Jake said, gesturing for Amy to cut the transmission. The 3 Vorn ships spread into attack formation, their massive plasma cannons rotating to target the Iron Phoenix. Jake could see the energy buildup in their weapon, systems preparing to fire. Evasive maneuvers, Jake commanded. Tony, target their weapon systems. The Iron Phoenix suddenly accelerated and rolled, moving with an agility that caught the Vorn commanders completely off guard. Their plasma bolts designed to hit large, slow-moving targets missed entirely. Tony's railguns responded instantly. 6 tungsten slugs launched simultaneously, each one targeted at a different weapon system on the lead destroyer. The kinetic impact sent shockwaves through the massive ship's hull, destroying entire weapon batteries in brilliant explosions. Impossible, came Jacques' transmission. Our armor cannot be penetrated by such small projectiles. Your armor was designed to stop energy weapons, Jake replied as the Iron Phoenix circled around for another attack run. These aren't energy weapons. The second destroyer opened fire, sending dozens of plasma bolts toward the human ship. But the Iron Phoenix was moving too fast, changing direction in ways that the Vorn weapons couldn't track. Activate cloak, Jake ordered. The Iron Phoenix vanished from Vorn sensors, leaving the 3 destroyers firing blindly at empty space. Jake watched their confusion with grim satisfaction as they began turning in circles, trying to locate their target. Take us behind the second destroyer, Jake commanded. Target their engine core. The Iron Phoenix moved silently through space, invisible to Vorn sensors. When they reached optimal firing position, Tony launched a single tungsten slug directly at the destroyer's main reactor. The slug, traveling at 90% of light speed, punched through the ship's rear armor and struck the reactor core. The resulting explosion tore the massive destroyer apart from the inside, sending debris spinning in all directions. 2 ships remaining, Pete reported. The surviving Vorn destroyers were now firing frantically in all directions, hoping to hit the cloaked human ship by chance. Their plasma bolts lit up space in brilliant displays, but none came close to the, Iron Phoenix. Decloak directly between them, Jake ordered. The Iron Phoenix materialized in the space between the 2 remaining destroyers, so close that their crews could see the human ship through their viewports. Both Vorn ships immediately opened fire, but their angle was wrong. Instead of hitting the Iron Phoenix, their plasma bolts struck each other. The mutual bombardment lasted only seconds before both destroyers' shields failed. Without protection, the plasma weapons began tearing into their own hulls. Tony seized the opportunity, targeting both ships' reactor cores simultaneously. 2 more tungsten slugs launched, each finding its target with perfect precision. The explosions were visible from Earth. Jake sat back in his captain's chair, watching the debris field that had once been 3 of the galaxy's most feared warships. The entire battle had lasted less than 20 minutes. Amy, open a channel to Admiral Krikstal, Jake commanded. The Zephyrian Admiral's face appeared on the view screen, his expression stunned. Behind him, Jake could see the bridge of a Federation flagship, with officers frantically checking their sensor readings. Admiral, I thought you might want to know that the Vorn threat to Earth has been neutralized, Jake reported calmly. 3 destroyers, Krikstal whispered. You destroyed 3 Vorn destroyers with a single ship. The same ship you gave us as a training vessel, Jake reminded him. Perhaps the Federation Council should reconsider their assessment of human capabilities. Krikstal stared at him for a long moment. Captain Morrison, the Federation fleet will reach your position in 6 hours. We need to discuss new arrangements. We'll be waiting, Jake replied. As the transmission ended, Jake looked around at his crew. They had just fought and won a battle that would have challenged an entire Federation squadron. More importantly, they had sent a message to the galaxy. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to join the galactic community. They were announcing their arrival. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted, and everyone knew it. The question now was whether the established powers would adapt to the new reality, or if they would try to fight it. Jake suspected they would find out soon enough. 6 months after the Vorn destroyer incident, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the most unusual fleet gathering in human history. 12 ships floated in formation around Earth, each one bearing the distinctive design elements that had made the Iron Phoenix legendary throughout the galaxy. The Iron Eagle, Iron Hawk, Iron Storm, and 9 others, all built using the revolutionary technology that had started with a piece of alien junk. Each ship represented a quantum leap beyond what any galactic power had thought possible, and together they formed the most feared fleet in known space. Admiral, Lieutenant Amy Chen approached with a tablet in her hands. The delegation from the Helix Confederation has arrived. They're requesting an immediate audience. Jake nodded, still looking out at his ships. How many does that make? 17 different species have sent diplomatic missions to Earth in the past month, Amy replied. The Zephyrians, the Helix Confederation, the Aquatic Alliance, even the Crystalline Collective. They all want the same thing. Technology sharing agreements, Jake said with a slight smile. Amazing how friendly everyone becomes when they need something from you. The past 6 months had seen a complete transformation in galactic politics. The Federation, once confident in their technological superiority, now found themselves scrambling to maintain relevance. The Vorn Empire had declared a temporary ceasefire, unwilling to face ships they couldn't effectively fight. Smaller species that had been ignored by the major powers were suddenly reaching out to humanity, hoping for protection and alliance. Jake made his way to the main conference room, where representatives from the Helix Confederation were waiting. The insectoid aliens stood nearly 7 feet tall, their chitinous armor gleaming under the station's lights. Their delegation was led by Hive Speaker Zixan, one of their most senior diplomats. Admiral Morrison, Zixan began, his translated voice carrying undertones of respect that would have been unthinkable a year ago. The Confederation wishes to propose a mutual defense agreement between our species. Jake took his seat at the conference table, noting how the aliens waited for him to sit before taking their own places. 6 months ago, they would have expected him to wait for them. What kind of agreement? Jake asked. The Confederation controls 17 star systems rich in rare minerals, Zixan explained, activating a holographic display. We propose to provide Earth with exclusive mining rights in exchange for protection by your fleet. It was a generous offer, probably worth trillions of credits. Jake studied the star chart, noting the strategic value of the Confederation's territory. What about the Federation? Jake asked. I thought the Helix Confederation was a founding member. Zixan's mandibles clicked in what Jake had learned was a sign of distress. The Federation has proven inadequate for our defense needs. The Vorn Empire threatened our colonies last month. Admiral Krixtal's fleet arrived 3 days too late. Your ships could have reached us in 6 hours. Jake nodded thoughtfully. I'll consider your proposal. We'll need to discuss terms with Earth's government before making any commitments. After the Helix delegation departed, Jake met with his senior staff in a smaller briefing room. The team that had once worked in secret to rebuild a discarded alien ship now found themselves at the center of galactic politics. 12 more requests for technology sharing came in today, Chief Engineer Lisa Parker reported. Everyone wants to know how we built ships that can outperform their best vessels. What are they offering? Jake asked. Everything, Tony Rodriguez replied with a grin. Star charts, mineral rights, trade agreements, even military alliances. The Aquatic Alliance offered to give us 3 entire star systems just for the blueprints to our railgun technology. Jake walked to the window, looking out at Earth hanging in space below. His home planet had gone from being a barely noticed backwater to the most important world in the galaxy in less than a year. Any word from Admiral Krixtal? Jake asked. Amy checked her tablet. He's requested another meeting. The Federation Council is prepared to offer Earth full membership status, including a seat on the ruling council. Jake almost laughed. A year. Ago, they wouldn't even let us attend Federation meetings as observers. Now they want to give us a vote in running the galaxy. The vote comes with conditions, Amy continued. They want us to share our shipbuilding technology with all Federation members and agree to limit our fleet size to no more than 20 vessels. 20 ships, Tony muttered. They're still trying to contain us. Jake turned back to his team. What's the status on our new construction projects? Lisa smiled. The Retribution is ready for launch. Dr. Blake outdid himself with the design. Jake felt a thrill of excitement. The Retribution was humanity's first purpose-built warship, designed from the ground up using human innovations rather than modified alien technology. It was 3 times the size of the Iron Phoenix and packed with weapon systems that pushed the boundaries of physics. Schedule the launch for next week, Jake decided. Make sure every Federation monitoring station can see it. 3 days later, Jake stood on the bridge of the Iron Phoenix watching the launch ceremony through the main view screen. The Retribution hung in space above Earth's orbital shipyards, its dark hull gleaming with the distinctive armor plating that had become humanity's signature. Representatives from dozens of alien species watched from observation platforms as the massive ship powered up its engines for the first time. The energy readings were so intense that every sensor in the system detected them instantly. This is Admiral Morrison to all observing vessels, Jake transmitted on an open channel. Thank you for attending the launch of Earth's newest vessel. The Retribution represents the next generation of human starship technology. On the view screen, Jake could see the faces of alien observers as their sensors registered power outputs that shattered their understanding of what was possible. The ship's antimatter engines generated more energy than some small stars, and its weapon systems could theoretically crack a moon. Ladies and gentlemen of the galactic community, Jake continued, humanity wishes to announce that we are no longer bound by Federation restrictions on our technological development. We will defend our allies, protect our interests, and explore the galaxy as we see fit. The transmission ended and Jake watched as alien ships throughout the system began powering up their own engines. Some were leaving to report to their governments, others were moving to defensive positions, and a few were actually approaching Earth to request immediate diplomatic meetings. Amy's console chimed with an incoming transmission. Admiral, it's Admiral Krikstal. He's requesting private communication. Put him through. The Zephyrian Admiral appeared on a secondary screen, his expression a mixture of awe and fear. Admiral Morrison, what your species has accomplished is unprecedented. The Federation Council wishes to begin immediate negotiations for a new treaty. What kind of treaty? Jake asked. A partnership treaty, Krikstal replied. Recognition of human space as an independent territory, with full sovereignty over technological development and military affairs. Jake raised an eyebrow. No restrictions? No oversight? No demands for technology sharing? None, Krikstal confirmed. The Federation recognizes that humanity has become a galactic power in its own right. We would prefer cooperation to conflict. Jake looked around at his crew, seeing the satisfaction in their faces. They had started with a piece of junk and turned it into leverage that could reshape the galaxy. Admiral Krikstal, please inform the Federation Council that Earth is interested in discussing a partnership between equals, Jake replied. We'll send our terms within the week. As the transmission ended, Jake turned back to the view screen where the Retribution was beginning its first test flight. The massive ship moved with surprising grace, its engines leaving brilliant trails of energy as it accelerated away from Earth. Dr. Kevin Blake's voice came over the ship's communication system from his laboratory aboard Luna Station. Admiral, the Retribution's test flight is exceeding all projections. Power efficiency is up 40% over our models, and the new armor plating is showing remarkable properties. Remarkable how? Jake asked. It appears to be self-repairing, Blake replied, excitement evident in his voice. Minor damage from micrometeorite impacts is healing automatically. We've accidentally created living armor. Jake smiled, thinking about how the aliens had expected humanity to be grateful for their table scraps. Now human technology was advancing, so rapidly that even the engineers who created it were surprised by what they achieved. Dr. Blake, how long until the next ship is ready? The Vengeance should be completed within 2 months, Blake replied. But Admiral, I have to ask, where does this end? How many ships do we need? Jake looked out at the stars, thinking about the vast galaxy beyond Earth's solar system. Somewhere out there were species that humanity hadn't met yet, threats that hadn't emerged, and opportunities that hadn't been discovered. It ends when every species in the galaxy understands that humanity isn't asking for permission anymore. Jake replied, "We're announcing our arrival." As if to emphasize his point, the Retribution completed its test flight and began powering up its weapon systems. The energy discharge was